Now, artificial intelligence has boomed in recent years and its use across a whole range of services is expected to grow. Now, that includes on healthcare. And our reporter, Catherine da Costa, has been to see how one AI programme is providing cataract patients with follow-up care without them having to speak to a doctor or nurse.
Cataract surgery is the most common surgical procedure in the UK, with almost 500,000 operations a year. Seeing patients for pre- and post-op assessments can be time-consuming for an already overstretched workforce. Now, artificial intelligence is providing a solution.
Good morning. This is Dora, the automated assistant from Oxford University Hospitals. Is this Mr. Ronald Hart speaking?
It is.
Cataract patient Ron Hart from Bista's getting a check-up call from Dora.
First up, is your eye red?
No.
It's an automated telephone assistant designed to spot a small number of patients who might need to see a consultant.
I had a pre-op question with Dora before, and you have another one post-op. It's very convenient. There's no travelling or parking fees. You don't have to go and see somebody face to face, and it's a great idea.
Good morning, Gabriel. How are you doing?
Research has found that Dora can make similar decisions to clinicians, and as the AI device can call multiple patients at once, it significantly eases pressure on nurses and saves the NHS around £35 per patient.
Over the last year or so, Dora in the southern region has already performed 12,000 calls, and each call would last about 8 minutes. So if you think about 12,000 visits, that's almost like having 2 nurses calling every day and doing nothing else. So that is a substantial amount of time they can now invest in delivering face-to-face care.
The Oxford-based developer behind Dora is now expanding the technology to assist with chronic conditions such as osteoporosis.
I think that's the kind of future state of the types of things we like to do. And then on the technology side, it's using more powerful technology like generative AI technologies to see how we can deliver even better, more personalized and more empathetic experiences for patients.
Forehead against the bar, please.
Experts don't think AI will replace doctors and nurses, but they do think it'll play a greater role in supporting staff with growing demands on the NHS. Catherine da Costa, BBC News.
Clever stuff. Now, the Business Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, has urged insurance companies this morning to deal swiftly with claims by shops and high street firms that were damaged in the disorder which followed the Southport attack. Well, we can speak to him now. A very good morning to you, Jonathan Reynolds.
Good morning.
Begin by outlining what your message is then to insurers.
Well, yes, good morning. So first of all, we promised the response to the disorder we've seen would be swift and the full force of the law would be used. We have seen the new government do that, but also, of course, what's important for me is to make sure the recovery to this disorder is done properly, as well as the response. So for small businesses, which are the lifeblood of so many communities and high streets, I want, first of all, for them to be able to receive the cover that they're entitled to through their insurance policies as swiftly as possible. That's why I'm working with the ABI, the Association of British Insurers, to make sure that happens. And I would say as well, for any business, any small business that has been affected, that is underinsured or is not insured, there is also still help available to them. That's under the terms of the Riot Compensation Act 2016. It covers damage, destruction, theft of stock from things like looting. So I want businesses to know we're here for them in the recovery, and I want to appeal to the public to make sure they as well are getting out to support businesses this weekend and this week and in the months ahead.
I mean, people might be watching and saying they're little more than words from the government. As you say, the Rights Compensation Act exists already. What sort of difference can your messaging make today?
Well, first of all, we saw, I think, in the pandemic in particular, a situation where when businesses were covered, particularly for consequential loss, so loss of trade going forward, that sometimes it was the delay in seeing those claims dealt with on a timescale that really got the businesses the support they needed. That was the problem. It wasn't an absence of cover. It was getting the process done as swiftly as possible that needed to happen. So working with the ABI is part of the answer to that. But second of all, I mean, I was in Liverpool on Friday talking to some small business owners who'd been affected. They weren't aware, if they were uninsured or underinsured, that there was still help available to them. So getting that message out, but also, Nina, making sure the public know that they're safe, they're reassured, they can get out if they feel as passionate about small businesses and high streets as I do. get out there and give them their support, because that's what people need more than anything else right now.
I mean, you touched on it there, public confidence, not just in local businesses, but in just feeling safe on the streets. And just flicking through the newspapers this morning, in The Observer, there's been a warning that riots will set back efforts to rebuild our broken justice system. That's from Shabana Mahmood. And then in The Times this morning, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Stephen Parkinson, saying hundreds more will go to court. Is there a worry that prisons are going to become overwhelmed? This was one of Sir Keir Starmer's top policies when he came into office, and this is not helpful, is it?
Well, I understand the concerns, and you're right to say the state of the judicial system the new government has inherited is not a good one, but I can tell you that there is sufficient prison capacity. The early decisions the government had to make in terms of bringing forward additional capacity mean we can deal with this. In terms of the number of arrests that have been made, 780 nearly already, 350 people charged already, some of the sentences already given out as well. So you've seen an incredibly swift and robust response to the unacceptable disorder that we have seen. And then, as we're talking about today, if we can make sure the recovery is handled just as well, we'll make sure we get through this very difficult period, but one where I think you've also seen the best of Britain come out as well in terms of how people have responded to the damage and the disorder they've seen in their own communities, and making clear they'll have no part of it.
I think that's true. The community responses have been exceptional, haven't they? But going forward, are you worried about social cohesion, that this could happen again and it could be worse? We know the Prime Minister's not been able to go on his holiday. That really tells us something, doesn't it?
Oh, look, you can never be casual or not take seriously the kind of things that we have seen. I think we all recognise there are some things that exist today, particularly in terms of how disinformation can spread so quickly on social media. There are major strengths to social media, but there is also this side that we've got to be aware of. So you can never take these things lightly, but you can make sure, first of all, you're responding swiftly with the full force of the law where that needs to be applied. You're handling the recovery properly as well. And of course, tackling some of that disinformation. The Technology Secretary, my colleague Peter Call, has already met with the social media companies. We're seeing action taken on disinformation, on labelling and fact-checking going alongside that. So the response has had to cover every single part of what we have seen, but that is what we're doing. And that's what we'll continue to do, and be vigilant about that.
OK, Jonathan Reynolds, Business Secretary, thank you for your time from Central London this morning.